Hello and welcome to Intro to VR Cameras, presented by Black Public Media. My name is Sanchez, and I'm a virtual reality producer and 360 photographer. And for the past 5 years, I've been using VR to create doc-style stories that shed more light onto social issues affecting underrepresented communities. And when I first started making VR films, you had to visit a bunch of different websites and YouTube videos to learn one small piece of what seemed like a huge puzzle of a process. And to be honest, today it's still not much better. That's why Black Public Media asked me to pull together this series on VR cameras to help you start your journey into VR. They've also commissioned my friend Jonathan Williams to dive deeper into the VR post process, so be sure to check out those videos and the rest of my Intro to VR Camera series in the links below. In today's video, the 10th in our series, we're going to round out our Intro to VR Cameras course with a quick discussion on audio equipment and stands, specifically for VR. Okay, let's get started. The thing about filming in VR is that there's no such thing as standing out of frame. The VR camera sees everything. So where does the boom mic go? Well, the short answer is we have to hide it. And we usually do that by mounting equipment underneath the camera because in post-production, we usually paint out this area anyways. When I first started making VR films, I used the Tascam DR40. It's a nice little stereo field recorder, and I would just mount it below the camera. This worked well because the mics on most VR cameras are not that great. And really, the majority of VR videos on YouTube and other platforms are all filmed with stereo audio anyways. So this was just an easy way to upgrade the audio and give my audience a nice ambient recording of the environment where I was filming. Now, another popular alternative to the DR40 is the Zoom H4. They're both excellent recorders and cost around $200 to $300. Now, for interviews or narrative pieces with actors with speaking parts, wireless lavs are a must-have. I personally use this little recorder. This is the Tascam DR10L, or I also use the Zoom F2, which I'm currently using now. A lot of times I prefer these over traditional wireless lavs because they're much smaller and because they can record internally versus having to be plugged into a separate field mixer. Now, they're also much cheaper and range from $150 to $250. But if you need a richer sound or you're working on a bigger budget set, then maybe a higher end traditional wireless system is better for your project anyways. More recently, spatial audio has become much easier to work with and much more affordable. This little guy is the Zoom H2N, and it has the capability to record 4-channel ambisonic audio. And considering it's only $200 or so, it definitely punches above its weight and does a pretty good job of placing the location of sound. Now, due to its size, I can easily mount this on the top of many VR cameras, and I tend to use this more in run and gun filming situations. Now, Zoom actually made a newer spatial audio recorder called the Zoom H3 VR, which costs about $250. This is pretty similar to the H2, except for that it has 4 microphone capsules positioned in each direction, whereas this H2 uses 2 front stereo mics and a mid-side mic on the back. Now, the H3 probably places sound better than the H2, but it's probably not different enough for me to go out and get my own. But if I didn't already have the H2, I'd probably go with that mic as my run and gun spatial recorder. But on more professional projects, I tend to use the Sennheiser Ambio mic. Like the H3 VR, it also has 4 capsules pointed in each direction, but they're much higher quality and it produces a richer sound. However, with these Pro mics, we have to plug them into a field mixer that has at least 4 XLR inputs. I personally use the Zoom F8, and I've been very happy with it. However, it's an expensive package. The Ambio mic is $1,300 and the F8 is $1,000. But again, it sounds fantastic. There are other field mixers out there that cost a little less, but the key to remember is that you need one that has at least 4 XLR inputs for many of these Pro ambisonic microphones. Lastly, we have to think about what are we going to put our camera and our audio equipment on? Okay, so we're outside to talk about stands for VR. But first and foremost, let me just say, don't cheap out on your stands. All VR cameras are an investment. No matter whether you're working with a 2-lens entry-level camera or a 6-lens professional level camera, we want to protect our investment. That being said, we have sort of a wide range of stands here that come at all price points. Um, Now, these are a selection of stands that I have either actually used in my own professional workflow or I've seen advertised to other VR filmmakers and 360 photographers. And so the first stand that we're going to talk about is a travel tripod. Um, this is from a company called Me Photo. And this is actually my first VR stand was actually a tripod from Me Photo. It was a very similar stand to this. Um, Now, I like travel tripods a lot because they provide this extra distance between the bottom of the camera and the base of the legs where they begin to spread out. Um, Most traditional tripods, the non-travel ones, usually the camera sits right here right at the base where the legs begin to spread out, and these are fine. They're okay. They'll definitely work in a pinch. But when you look down in the 360 video, that base ends up taking more of the real estate of what you're seeing below. Um, but when we raise the center column, all of a sudden we can see much more of the ground around that base, and that helps our post-production process. It allows us to more easily paint out the legs, to clone the ground around and paint out the legs um, in our post process. So it just gives our editors a lot more room to work with. It's less of a headache, and that's really the key thing that we're looking for in stands for VRs is how much separation can I get between the camera and where things start to fan out. So an alternative to the travel tripod is a lightweight light stand. Now, I haven't used one of these in my own production workflow. Um, and I probably wouldn't put a professional level camera on something like this, but this is perfectly fine for one of these two lens, more lightweight options here. Um, Now, what I do love about the lightweight light stand is that you have a lot more separation between the base and the bottom of the camera than you do on something like a travel tripod or a more traditional tripod. Um, you also these are extremely lightweight, and these are especially great for 360 photographers who have to plop the camera down every 5 to 10 feet or so for their VR tours. And they're also very cost effective. I believe they run anywhere from $20 to $50. So definitely a great option. So now, a step up from the lightweight light stand would be a heavier light stand like a C stand. Um, I personally love working with C stands, especially if I'm working in an area that's a bit crowded, or I know there's going to be a lot of moving people or cars and things like that. You know, I want to protect, my cameras as much as possible. And this will actually probably provide the most protection of the bunch that we have here today. They're also very cost effective for considering all of that protection. They cost anywhere from, 150 to $250. This one is, probably smack dab in the middle at $200. Um, but yeah, the other added benefit, aside from just the extra space that you have between the legs and the camera, is that when you're working with an all steel um, C stand, you're actually getting a lot of vibration dampening. So sometimes with these lighter weight options, you'll get a lot more wiggle room at the top. Especially on a windy day, the camera will shake quite a bit more. But with a steel C stand, that vibration gets dampened, and you end up getting a much more stable image than some of these other options, especially again like on a windy day. So, yeah, so very strong, very stable, and quite cost effective. Now, step up from there. Uh, this is a stand that I have put together from uh, components from different companies, and a lot of VR filmmakers would do this. Um,
in our quest to find something that's sturdy but mobile, we often are forced to actually look at, kind of building something ourselves that, from scratch. So uh, this is a monopod combined with a hi-hat stand. And uh, I should probably say one word about monopods. Don't, do not get the entry level, flimsy, small monopods that are basically a selfie stick. They're just too flimsy. They're too lightweight. The bases themselves usually are, not wide enough to provide any stability. Your camera will fall over. Um, however, this is much more stable. This is a very professional quality rig. Um, the monopod itself is made from a company called Bushman Panoramic. It's carbon fiber. It's very sturdy. It's very strong. Um, the hi hat is made from a company called Enduro. Also made of carbon fiber. It's got a nice wide base to it. In addition, I added a weight to the bottom of the stand. Um, this is actually a counterbalance usually used in lighting equipment, on boom arms and things like that. But it has a 3/8 thread that I was able to incorporate directly into my VR stand here. But this just provides a lot of stability. It's more mobile than the C stand. So if I have a multi-location shoot, I can get around pretty easily. It packs up very nicely. It's easy to travel with. But yeah, so this is a great option. However, once you start to piece out, all of these kind of pro level materials, it does get costly pretty quickly. Um, I think this one probably comes out in price somewhere between, $500-600 at the end of the day. But it can easily get up to $1,000 depending on what components you're using. So something to keep in mind. But again, this gives me the best of sort of both worlds of mobility and stability. So, all right, that's it for stands for VR. If you have any specific questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and we'll try and answer them as soon as we can.
Okay, to recap, there's no such thing as out of frame when it comes to VR cameras. The camera sees everything. We have to think strategically about how we're going to hide and mask our audio equipment and our tripods and stands. For audio, wireless and mountable mics are going to give you the most discrete options, and your spatial audio recorders will greatly enhance the immersion experience. For stands, the key thing to remember is that we need some separation between the camera and the base of support. That will make painting out the tripod and other mounted equipment much easier in post. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to use the comment section if you want us to cover any other topics as you continue down your VR journey. Thanks so much.